G'day legends, Kiive Audio have a new plugin out, the Tubetizer. When you think of tubes, you think of saturation, warmth, color, all of that analog goodness. So we're gonna check this plugin out and see what it delivers. And if after you watch this video and you wanna try this plugin out for yourself, there is a link in the description below. Okay, so here's a quick setting that I dialed in on the drums. So it's making these drums sound fat and warm and a little crunchy, but not in a bad way. Just shaving off those really spiky transients of like the snare drum and just smoothing it out in a really nice way. I think that sounds awesome. So we've got a couple of parameters here. We've got the distortion knob. Basically, you just turn this up until you get the desired amount of distortion. You've got a tone knob. You can make it sound darker or brighter. And then there's a compression knob, which can go from subtle compression to absolutely slamming. And then there is 3 different types of saturation: triode, pentode, and iron. Triode has the most balanced sound. Pentode is a little bit on the brighter side of things. And then iron is a little bit thicker and warmer sounding. The distortion input and the output are linked. So as you drive the distortion, it doesn't actually get any louder. You just get to hear the effects of the saturation happening. And then if you need to make up some extra gain, you can grab the output and change it over here and it won't affect the distortion knob. But even if you change this and then grab the distortion knob again, they're linked again, which is really cool. There's a sidechain filter. So if you don't want to affect anything below, say 300 Hertz, you could set it there and anything below that point will not have saturation applied to it. So for the drums, I just had it around 100 Hertz just so we didn't get the kick too crunchy. And then you can blend between odd and even harmonics. So if you want something with a little bit more edge, you might go to the odd side. And if you want something a little bit warmer, fuller sounding, then the even side might kind of get that desired result. Of course, there's a mix knob up the top. We've got oversampling up to 16 times, and there's the gain link, which was automatically on, but you can turn that off if you want. Let's play these drums and just pull some crazy settings out of it. So you can hear the triode settings a little bit gentler on the distortion, whereas the pentode and the iron, you can hear a bit more grit, and there's a lot more color to those 2 options. Get some pretty cool slamming drum sounds out of this. That's pretty awesome. And then we could just pull the mix knob back. Really makes the drum sound heaps fuller. Let's hear this with the music behind it. So that definitely adds a lot more sustain and excitement to the drums. Super easy to dial in and a really nice saturation sound. Okay, let's try this out on a different sound. I've got a Wurlitzer piano here and it sounds like this. I think that sounds awesome. That bit of distortion, it's not like totally overdriving it, but giving it a little bit of crispness on the edges. It sounds really good. It just sounds really tasty to me, like just a really nice sounding distortion. So I really like the sound of that. That was on the iron setting. Let's just have a little playlist and see what else we can do with it. So Wurlitzers always sound pretty nice to me with a little bit of drive on them. I really like that sound, and this is really giving it that extra warmth and also compressing it and sustaining it, which sounds really good. Around there on the pentode setting sounds really cool to me. I also like that iron setting we had at the start with that little bit of drive. The pentode's a little too gritty. The iron sounds really cool when you drive it. So it's really cool that there's a couple of flavors there to dial this in and find the right tone for what you're chasing. If you only had one saturation option, you'd maybe go, oh, that distortion doesn't really work, and then you would give up on the plugin. But having a couple of choices there lets you find a sound that works really well. So let's put this in the mix and see how it sounds. This is definitely helping define the whirly in this dense mix. Let's chuck this in our bass guitar and see how it sounds. Actually like triode, I think that sounds really nice. Even just pushing that quite hard again. Sounds good on the even side, and that distortion just cranked. We might use the sidechain filter because we're losing a little bit of low end. So let's bring this up to maybe like 150 Hertz and see how that sounds. It's making the bass sound way thicker, way more consistent, and also like the pick sound and the edge of the bass is coming through a lot better. There's a bit more tone to it. Let's hear it with the drums. Way more consistent with Tubetizer on. It's adding a level of compression to the sound as well, which is making it just glue together. I really like that on the bass. I think that's really good. Okay, so we've got Tubetizer on the drums, bass, and the Wurlitzer. Let's see what it sounds like when we bypass these three things. It's definitely helping to make this track sound a little bit better. Okay, so I've taken Tubetizer off, all of those things that we just looked at, and now we're going to apply it to our mix bus. And I've pulled a little setting here. So what I hear is the low end is a little bit thicker and fuller sounding, and there's a little bit less edginess to the top end. It's sort of smoothed out in a nice way. This is with a mix at 100%. We could dial this back a little bit as well. So we could go to maybe like 50% and see what that sounds like. I boosted the output a little bit. Now that we've got the mix knob on here, we were just losing a little bit of volume. So definitely a cool way of thickening your track up. I think that sounds really pleasant. Now I don't have any vocals in this project, so we're gonna jump into another song so we can see what it sounds like using Tubetizer on a vocal.
Something tells me she's been here before. Mysterious girl has me wanting more. I know I gotta behave, I know where this goes.
It sounds pretty nice on the iron setting at around 1 o'clock.
Something tells me she's been here before. Mysterious girl has me wanting more.
Adds that like thickness in the mids to the vocal, rolls off a bit of the top end. Sounds pretty cool.
Something tells me she's been here before. Mysterious girl has me wanting more.
I really rate that. I think that sounds great.
Something tells me she's been here before. Mysterious girl has me wanting more. I know I gotta behave. I know where this goes.
That sounds awesome. A lot more fullness in like the lower mids. So this is a pretty cool way of just adding richness, thickness to a vocal if it's lacking a little bit of that.
Something tells me she's been here before. Mysterious girl has me wanting more.
Here it sounds a lot thinner when we turned it off just then. And you can definitely just do like a full-on all-out distorted sound as well. Maybe like pentoed 2 with it cranked, maybe pull the tone back a little bit so it doesn't get too harsh sounding.
Something tells me she's been here before. Mysterious girl has me wanting more.
So even with a setting like this, maybe pulling the mix knob back to maybe 10 to 20%, you'll be able to add a little bit of edge to the vocal.
Something tells me she's been here before. Something tells me she's been here before. Something tells me she's been here before.
That sounds pretty cool. And I think that effect would be subtle in the mix, but it'll help the vocal to stand out a little bit better.
Something tells me she's been here before. Mysterious girl has me wanting more.
So in my opinion, just a really nice tube saturation style plugin. It's got all the bells and whistles to dial in a cool sound on whatever you're trying to apply this to. So I think this sounds really good, and if you do too, there's a link in the description below. And by using that link, you do help support this channel. If you make a purchase, a small commission comes back to the channel, which helps support the time that goes into making content. But as always, make sure you do the trial period, test the plugin out, and make sure you like it first before committing to buying it. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the link in the description below to my website. If you want to support this channel, head over there, grab a sample pack or a mixing course. By doing that, it's a really big support for the time that goes into making all of the content on this channel. If you guys want to check out an awesome compressor plugin from Kiive Audio, check out this next video coming out where I did a demo of the Tube KC1.